Hello, this is Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priest for Life, and welcome to our program. Well, today we're going to have a very serious topic, and you might say, Janet, come on, that's not affecting me or my children or my neighborhood. But oh, yes, fentanyl is a crisis, and it's coming to a neighborhood near you, and you have to protect your children, and you're going to learn how to do that today on this program. Joining me today is a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Rebecca Keissling, and she tragically lost her two beautiful sons on the same day from fentanyl poisoning. So, Rebecca, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I really appreciate you using that term, fentanyl poisoning.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's not an overdose. It's
No,
not
it's
an
poisoning.
accident.
It's poisoning.
Right.
Well, first of all, let's just level the story here. What the drug cartels and these drug dealers are doing, they are lacing fentanyl with a lot of the painkillers that people leave hospitals with for surgery, like Oxycontin and things like that.
It's not laced, though.
Well, it's somehow
disguised as, but it's not even laced.
No, it's disguised as.
Yeah.
These are the painkillers. So a person thinks, okay, I'm out of Oxycontin. My doctor won't prescribe anymore right now, or I can't get the refill for 3 days from now, but I'm suffering now. And someone says, yeah, and the danger here, especially for the young people, is TikTok and what's that other one? Snapchat. These drug dealers are on all the social media, and guess what they're doing? They're trolling for your young children and teenagers, aren't they, Rebecca?
Yeah. They'll call them bricks. They'll have like a brick symbol. They have a lot of different lingo that they use for it, and they're openly advertising, and nothing's being done. They're not being shut down. These platforms, social media platforms, just don't care.
And some of them are even disguising themselves to look like candy, aren't they? Yes.
Yeah, they call them rainbow fentanyl.
Yeah. So it's like candy too. So you have been deeply affected by this. Your two sons died on the same day at the same moment. I know it's painful, but just so people can understand, like we always say, stories, you got to put a face on the problem. Fentanyl is a problem. People are dying in our nation every single day. Younger and younger people. It's affecting. I think it's probably the number one killer of teenage children nowadays. So tell us what happened to your dear sons.
So Caleb and Kyler were. Caleb was 20. Kyler was 18. Kyler had graduated from high school the day before, and they thought they were celebrating. They had a 17-year-old girl with them, Sophia, as well as a guy who found out was a drug dealer. And he had overdosed and was saved with Narcan. He had overdosed a month before, and his girlfriend, who was there as well, never took the fake Percocets, but she had overdosed 2 months before. So this guy knew he was getting, bad stuff. But I say that now I know it's all bad.
Right.
Now I know 7 out of 10 pills have a lethal dose.
Wow.
My son Kyler had 4 times the amount in his system that was enough to kill. And as I said, these pills are not laced. They're 100% fentanyl. And then
but they're
some
posting
fillers.
them as something else. Right?
Yeah, as Xanax. It's in everything now. Anything you could possibly get on the streets, it's in all of it. It's in, Molly and meth and cocaine and even in and heroin, of course. Heroin addicts are no longer dying from heroin. They're dying from fentanyl now because fentanyl's so much cheaper for the cartels than producing heroin.
But see, you just said Xanax. Now that's something that I'm saying to myself, now, wait a minute. A lot of people, when they're getting nervous, they have doctors, they prescribe, unfortunately, Xanax like it's aspirin, like no big deal. I mean, probably if you go into a lot of people's medicine cabinets, they got Xanax sitting there. So it's a common thing. And I mean, I've even seen this at funerals, Rebecca, where one relative has the Xanax, right? And others go, you got a Xanax? I'm falling apart. And what I've seen this. I've actually seen it with my own eyes where they're passing the Xanax around, right? Well, guess what? Suppose you run out of your Xanax and you hear, psst, hey, guess what? This guy up the block, he's got the extra Xanax. You want some?
It could be your friend. Your friend thinks they have Xanax. Their doctor won't prescribe them anymore.
Right.
And they mean well, and they give you the Xanax thinking they got real Xanax.
And meanwhile, you got fentanyl instead of Xanax. Right. And that's how. So your sons kind of went to a motel with their friends to party, right? So it's like celebrate graduation and have some fun.
That's not what was supposed to happen. My ex-husband was supposed to take them to rehab.
Oh, wow.
I knew that they were struggling and something was going on, and I asked him to take them to rehab, and he headed up Celebrate Recovery. So I relied upon him to know where to take them. And he, I guess, couldn't find a place that night. And so he left them at this motel with all of these others, already high, I had no idea what was happening. If it had been me, that's hard to live with, because I feel like I should have known better. I should have handled it. I should have,
taken them home yourself.
I was always like the advocate. I was always the one going in the room, finding stuff, taking it to schools, taking it to the police, trying to shut it down. I was on it.
You were being the watchdog parent.
Yeah.
Good cop, bad cop. You were the bad cop.
And my son said to me when they got in trouble a couple months earlier, Caleb said, you're my superhero. You always cared. You were always there. You always went in our room, and then Kyler said, gosh, I had the best childhood. You raised us right. We did all kinds of fun things.
So they were almost apologizing for drifting into this drug culture.
Yeah.
Right? And Mom, we're sorry. You taught us better. You warned us.
They knew. And they gave their heart to Christ. Kyler wrote out 17 of his goals for life. We found it the day after they died. Caleb, he told me he was writing, and we found it. He wrote 3-page his testimony. He wanted to speak in churches and at schools, and he was quoting scripture. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm more than a conqueror.
So he really wanted to get drugs out of his life.
Yeah.
He wanted to change, but he was struggling.
Fentanyl is 100 times stronger than heroin.
Right.
So you got to understand, once you have even just a teeny bit of it, you're hooked bad like nothing else. This is not like anything we grew up with or ever heard of.
Right.
This is a whole different, playing field. And my boys got hooked, starting with Xanax from kids bringing it to school. Caleb told me in 9th grade, from parents' unlocked medicine cabinets. Right. And these kids, I found out after the fact that the number one drug of choice for kids are pills. And they have these pill parties where they just throw it all into a bowl and just have at it. And they have no idea.
They all take some from the bowl.
Yeah, and they bring it from, they think they don't know where the kids are getting it from. I knew none. I didn't know what fentanyl was. This was 2020. Everybody should know what fentanyl is now. If you don't, you need to know. I didn't know what Narcan was.
And Narcan is the thing they give them to try to save them when they find them in time.
Now they're mixing Narcan with a drug called Tranq, which is a horse tranquilizer, so that Narcan doesn't work. And fentanyl testing strips don't work. And fentanyl testing strips only work on powder. They don't work on pills.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a scary world. The year Caleb was born, in 2000, there were 20,000 drug-related deaths in the U.S. The year they died, 2020, there were over 100,000. A year later, over 110,000. Then 2022, estimated over 112,000. And it just keeps climbing. And you would think people would know better.
Right.
But they're so addicted or so naive or, and it starts with, for my kids, it started with vaping in middle school.
So vaping was like a gateway, because I say that all the time to people when they say, oh, well, they're making marijuana legal, so it shouldn't be so bad right now. I said, it's a gateway.
It is.
You start with vaping, you start with marijuana, and then it's like a slippery slope.
And they put THC in the vapes, or they put Molly in the vapes, or fentanyl. I'm meeting parents who their kids died vaping because somebody put fentanyl in the vape.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so really the warning here, I think, for parents is first of all, these kids here, you got one here, a cell phone. I'm going to pick it up and hold it. Brothers and sisters, this is danger. Danger, danger. When they used to say, when my kid's a little stranger danger, this is the stranger danger right here.
Yeah.
Their cell phones. And I'm seeing parents give children younger and younger are walking around with iPhones. If you don't have that phone locked down, that they can't get on Snapchat, and what's the other one? I always forget. TikTok.
I waited a long time to get my kids' phones. They were some of the last in
Right.
school to get phones.
But this
I
is
hate our
definitely-
culture, and
this is a
I
gateway.
wish I had kept homeschooling.
Yeah.
It wasn't my choice. My ex-husband made the decision, but I wish so much I had continued homeschooling my kids. We didn't have TV at home. I never had cable, ever. They grew up on, Christian Catholic programs. Like I protected them. They weren't sheltered. They were protected.
And yet,
And
still
they grew up with every warning because their birth mother had been a drug addict and their grandmother had been a drug addict. But it's not because of their family history. Let me tell you, there's hundreds of thousands who are dying every year who don't have a history like that.
exactly.
And it's happening anyway. So
Rebecca,
can't
I
think,
just saw, because it was a Fentanyl Awareness Day the other day, and the stories were very tragic. One was a mother, her 14-year-old son, beautiful little blonde hair, blue-eyed kid, died of fentanyl poisoning. And all it was, as someone at school had a pill, he was nervous about taking a big exam, and the kid went, "Oh, look, I got some pills here, and supposed to calm you before you take a big test." The kid took the pill and ended up fentanyl poisoned. All right. And then another mother, her daughter was like 20 years old, like your one son, had severe stomach problems. When you have those gastro issues, you can have severe stomach pains. And this person said, "Oh, well, I have some Oxy. That will help you today," because she wasn't due to go back to her doctor to get more medicine for another 2 weeks. Again, someone said, here's some Oxy. It had fentanyl poisoning in it. It's just, and then I just saw we have a government website about fentanyl awareness. You can Google it. I did it before we did this program. And in the Department of Health in Washington, D.C., they have a wall bigger than this set back here.
Yeah.
And they have victims of fentanyl poisoning and their pictures in memoriam. Yeah. And parents could keep adding to this wall.
They have no more room.
It's full.
Yeah.
And they're going to have more walls. It's tragic. And you were just rattling off the numbers who are dying every year. And so, I have to say, first, I want to thank you for your witness. I know how difficult it was. I can't imagine the grief of losing one, but both sons.
And you
on the same day, at the same time. When the police came to you and you were told that they're both gone.
Yeah, my ex-husband called to tell me.
Yeah.
So he got the call late in the day. I didn't know that they were missing.
I thought they were in rehab.
Yeah, I didn't know that they hadn't responded all day. And it was the girl's parents who tried to track down their daughter. And, they were with a girl who showered, knew they were all there, thought all four were dead. She washed her hair. She called her friend, panicking, not knowing what to do. So many of these stories I hear from other people, they were hanging out with people who don't care about them, who don't call the police to get them help. Sometimes they dump their friend's body. They think these are their friends.
Yeah.
And when they end up in a situation like that, they don't do anything to save their lives, and you think you're having fun and you're with your friends. No. It's the number one cause of death, ages 1 to 7. You heard about the story in Florida, the Airbnb.
Right.
Their daughter was laying on a bed for less than an hour. They come to find out she died, and they come to find out there had been a party with cocaine in that home the night before. You just don't know. And it's the number one cause of death, ages 18 to 45. That's military age. We're losing our young people like crazy. This is a war. And let me tell you how horrifying it is, because we went through a trial. We were one of the lucky ones where we knew who the drug dealer was. And he ended up confessing. But most of the time the police don't do anything. They could open the phones, but they said there's too many of these cases. I have a friend who's a sheriff deputy. He's like, I got stacks of these. And so nothing's done. And when you do have a prosecution, they gave him a plea deal. He got 8 to 15 years for killing 3 people. And you wait for the autopsy report. Imagine being this mom. And there's hundreds of thousands of these parents every year who are going through this now. Every year, where you wait for that autopsy report, and you're just trying to see what the toxicity report is, what the cause of death was. And imagine having, you're trying to avoid the rest, and imagine having to read how much your child's brain weighs. It's just horrifying. It's a horrible, horrible thing that nobody should ever have to go through, yet hundreds of thousands are going through it every year now.
Right. And of course, you had to go through that whole, I remember seeing, I couldn't get to the funeral, but I remember praying for you and seeing the pictures on Facebook of the beautiful boys and those powder blue little metal caskets at the cemetery, at the wake. I mean, parents, I just hope you're listening to what we're telling you right now, and you're grabbing these devices that your kids have, and you're immediately putting controls on them. There's all kinds of parent controls you can put on.
It's hard to keep up. We tried. It's
Yeah.
really hard to keep up. I would recommend don't get your kids a phone.
I know. Yeah, to me, anyone under 16 having a cell phone is wrong.
I have a friend who she has a phone where there is no internet access. She got them a phone where they can only make calls. And
that's good, because in case you need because when you ask most parents, why does your kid have a cell phone? Oh, in case they need me, they can call me. Like, when I was a kid growing up, there was no such thing as cell phones. And when I went to school, if I wasn't feeling good, I went to the nurse's office. And then if I was too sick to stay in school, they called home and mom came and got me. And there was no need to have a cell phone to call mom.
Now there's a lot of schools who require it for schoolwork. To have a cell phone for schoolwork.
Oh, that's crazy.
We're up against the culture. It's very difficult.
It's hard. But there's an awareness we need to have. There's an awareness, and you have to start telling your kids, don't take a pill, a candy, or anything from anyone that is not a person you absolutely know, and it should be in the wrapper. The candy should be in like an M&M package or a Skittles package.
They are hiding it in Skittles packages, to get it across the border. They've found it in Skittles and Sweet Tarts and Nerds. Yeah, so there's no question that the cartels are out to kill our children. They're targeting our children. This is a war, and this is the same spirit of the death that goes after preborn children.
Right.
Because the thief came to steal, kill, and destroy. But Christ came that we may have life and have it to the full. But we have to know that there's an enemy of our soul who is going after our children, going after us. And we have to fight like this is a war and be extremely diligent.
Absolutely. Well, I hope everyone has paid attention. This was a sad story for you to have to relive it again. But I know you're very brave, and you testify in state legislatures about this, in Congress. I know you went to Congress to talk about fentanyl poisoning, and we have to call it poisoning because that's what it is. They're not overdosing. It's a poison.
Right.
So, Rebecca, thank you for joining me today.
There's a big rally in Detroit at the end of Lost Voices of Fentanyl is a Facebook group, thousands and thousands of loved ones and people who care about this issue. And they're hosting a huge event at the August 23rd. I believe it's a Saturday. Okay. I'm sorry, September 23rd.
Oh, September 23rd.
Yeah, and it's a Saturday in D.C., and then they're going to march up to the White House, and it's from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So that's September 23rd. If you want to be part of the fentanyl awareness. And I bet you a lot of those moms are going to have posters with the pictures of their loved ones that lost. In your sad case, you've got your 2 boys, and may they rest in peace. And thank you for, some people, tragedy strikes and then they keep it within themselves.
My boys were very pro-life. They wrote on the subject and really cared.
And so what you're doing is you're going on with their memory to help save other children, which is so brave. So thanks, Rebecca, for this. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, I hope, brothers and sisters, this was a sobering topic for you too, that you have to be aware about fentanyl poisoning. You have to talk to your children. Don't let them take anything from anybody because it is embedded all over. It's the number one killer here in America right now. And brothers and sisters, you could be saving your children and your grandchildren by raising the awareness. I can remember when I was a kid, it was about just say no to drugs. Well, right now, it's not just about just say no. It's about learning how terrible fentanyl is, poisoning, and that it's all over and it's going to be sneaking in, and you've got to protect your young ones. So thank you for joining us today. More information, of course, is on the government websites. And please do something today. Spread the word because we want to save these children and these young adults from fentanyl poisoning. Until next time, Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Thank you and God bless.